Hi there, welcome to some breaking news within the Noah Presgrove case. There has been a post which has just come about on Facebook to do with some new damning evidence which may or may not lead to a conviction within the case. Now, when I saw that, it caught me off guard. I'm thinking, what the hell's just gone on? Because after this long spell of silence and the feeling of not much progression's been made, now suddenly evidence has come about. What is it exactly? What is this evidence? Well, all I can do right now is show you the post, read through the details and see what it's all about, and even check the comment section as well to see if anyone's added on, elaborated, asked any questions. I'm still going to try and do the golf club analysis later tonight as a live premiere, so be on the lookout for that. Should be around 9:20, 9:30 p.m. UK time, same time as recently, okay? Now, if you do want to catch up on any previous videos, I just want to drop it in quickly. Where you see that eye symbol, click on that eye symbol, top right, you'll see the playlist of all the videos that I've done on this case up to now, so you can research, and even my video that I did yesterday where, I was just setting the record straight, and if you need awareness about that, feel free to watch. Down below, leave your reactions to this video, to this breaking news. Let me know what you think at the end of this video down below in the comment section, and I will respond back as soon as I can. You'll also find a pinned comment by me down below with some additional links if you want to support the channel. And yeah, without further ado, let's look at this breaking news. As you can see on screen, this is the Post news alert posted 12 hours ago. I was in bed at the time because of the time zone difference, by Justin Roy. Now, we've heard about Justin Roy before, played a key pivotal role within the online discussions, and as an admin on the Facebook page has done a good job being very consistent since day one or however long ago it was. Justin Roy recently appearing on that podcast interview in which some of Justin's family, 7 to 10 people, were actually attending the party at the time. So key witnesses who may have seen things, heard stuff, and passed information on. But what's come about just recently, though, for this massive unexpected shift? So Justin Roy writes here, let's just click on view more so we see it all. I don't know if this is directly him typing it or if it's re-quoted, but nevertheless, there are some quotes mentioned. Explosive new evidence in Noah's case has been obtained. My first question would be, of course, what is the explosive new evidence? Is the new evidence that secret recorded footage which showed people on the highway around Noah's body? Or are we talking about extra new evidence along the way? I wonder. And as well, with it saying has been obtained, that would imply obtained by the authority. But who exactly? The LE, the Highway Patrol, or the FBI? You would hope, fingers crossed, it's the FBI that's obtained it, because if it's the LE and such as the local, we see how they've acted in the case. It's not exactly good, and some dodgy people could be within. But anyway, Justin Roy types, this new evidence may or may not be enough for a conviction, but it's damning nonetheless. Damning in a sense that, incriminating, it shows some form of foul play, some form of criminal activity before or after Noah Presgrove's death from the looks of it. It depicts a person or a group in shot doing something they're not supposed to be doing, and it's tied directly to the case itself. Damning, a form of desecration, a form of murder, a form of tampering, right? This is making me think, could this possibly be with that hidden recorded video in the background? And would that be considered explosive new evidence when it's already been talked about on Facebook before? Maybe, maybe not. It just depends, because at the time of when that person, what's he called, Michael, that mentioned it on that Facebook post, if you remember, I did a video and he gave some brief details, which not everybody agrees with in the background, so there's some counterpoints, but nevertheless, that was talked about previously on the highway after 5:15, after Kaden Pressy was told to leave, in which a person holding a phone, and it showed 4 people on site, and one of which was taking Noah's shorts off, the black ones, replacing them nearby with white shorts folded, okay? and people said it's 150% true and absolute certainty and confidence, and that Michael reached out to one of his local FBI officers about it, and another person in the background reached out to the correct authority as well, reporting it in. So has it now been confirmed that? Is that what this is all about, I wonder? Or could it be new evidence on top of the other stuff? Because if that was the case, that would be even more interesting, right? Because of the mystery behind it as to what it exactly is. To say that this may or may not be enough for a conviction shows that it has some form of weight, importance and relevancy to the case to begin with. This is kind of like the Dylan Rounds situation before Dylan's body was actually found, that there was time-lapse footage of Brenner cleaning himself up after murdering Dylan Rounds. That type of evidence, that type of footage was damning, incriminating, and at that time it was perceived as it could carry enough weight for a conviction. But there was still that uncertainty here and there, because if the body's not found, you haven't got that full jigsaw puzzle piece completed, and you need the body for true conviction and a 100% success rate or something in getting justice. And that, yes, that was eventually met. But at the time, when you've got limited material and evidence, but it does show some kind of incriminating footage of someone responsible or some people, it's a start, it's a beginning. And this late on into this case, it was needed, it was necessary, and supposedly it has happened, right? It's good that correct, appropriate language is used here to say may or may not be enough, but it's better than nothing, right? So it continues to say, this may be the last opportunity for anyone wishing to make a plea agreement or immunity deal with the DA. Is that kind of reaching out to those within the case, within the party goers, friends or family members, to say this is your last chance to own up, to speak out, because this evidence is quite, damaging to people. So, you can't be hiding for any longer. Now's the right time. Now's the last time, to be honest. Interesting, right? But my question is, if this was to reach out to, the darker forces out there who may be lurking on these pages, listening in and stuff, well, if the Facebook pages become private, who's going to see this? Unless it's been posted elsewhere as well, publicly. I mean, what I might do afterwards is check Google or see if there's any news post or articles, right? In case. But let's just focus on here for now, at least. Jan Fiorillo, how do you say his name? Jan Fiorillo. I think we've seen his name before in previous news articles. Offer still stands. Oh yeah. No, not news articles. I'm sure we saw Jan's comment on Facebook previously where she was talking about the Reddit page, her reaction to that forensic anthropologist and former coroner giving his weigh-in on the cause of death of Noah Presgrove, and how she was claiming she was silenced and, well, not silenced, but her comments removed and censored, but in the end her comments remained up on Reddit, publicly viewable. Correct me if I'm wrong, I just remember hearing the name Jan previously. And I do also remember Jan did leave a comment about an offer offering money or fees for attorneys or the legal situation and size, maybe as a form of persuading people to come out. So doing good to get the truth out of darkness, I guess. So the offer still stands. However, her offer will only be given to the first person who comes forwards and no one else. So anyone within the case hiding the truth knows something. If you come forwards first, you will receive a reward. Interesting. See offer below. We'll get to that shortly. In addition to Jan Fiorillo's offer, reward money from Noah's family could also apply here. Also. And I think that's like $7,000 to $8,000 or so, $8,000. Should this witness lead to a conviction, the perpetrators of this crime, physical posters as well as social media adverts will begin being distributed next week from Duncan, Oklahoma to Bowie, Texas, and every town, city in between. Sounds quite serious and official. Jan's offer. So this is like reposted from her previous Facebook individual post. Right, so it's all been collected together and reposted by Justin Roy. So Jan originally said, "I will pay for the fees for an attorney of choice for anyone who may have been involved and or helped with the cover-up of Noah Presgrove's death, to have your attorney advise you on how to walk your testimony, evidence into the district attorney, the OSBI or the FBI, and negotiate a plea deal, states witness immunity and protection on your behalf. This method ensures attorney-client privilege. Contact an attorney and have them email janferrillo@yahoo.com, and my attorney will reach out to them for further instructions and payment arrangements. You may email me if you have further questions about my offer, but please do not include any privileged details about the case. I do not want to be involved in this way. All details will be handled between the attorneys to ensure all parties' interests are protected, upheld, and that testimony evidence is properly and legally managed. NDAs will be exchanged to protect the privacy of all parties, as well as any specific details of any information obtained." This might be a bit of a random question, but if anyone indirectly or directly involved in the case did reach out now, like a scared rat, and they reached out, revealed the truth, and they were kind of rewarded despite what they may have done or been involved in, or at least covered up for some time, they get reward money. Does anything else happen to them afterwards? Do they get charged with anything, or could there be lesser charges as part of a plea deal? Because does it get to the point where in the future that they could be walking free like nothing ever happened, and it could reoffend all over again in the future? I know that seems a bit rushed at, but I just wanted to throw that question out. What else? If you have digital evidence relevant to this case, I'll also assist in the cost for digital forensics, for example, text, messages, emails, photos, videos, location tracking, calls, apps, post, etc. This information will need to be obtained requested for an attorney of your choice, as it will need to be protected as work product. Your attorney can help relay this evidence to the appropriate law enforcement agencies in the appropriate way and ensure your rights and this evidence are preserved and protected. Please come forward as soon as possible. This is the best deal you're going to receive. Please share to anyone who may need to see this information. Share it. Okay, so to say that, please share to anyone who may need this information. And with this being posted previously, probably days ago now or longer, for Justin Roy to repost it now, there's obviously a clear reason to do so. But as for the top part, the most important bit, explosive new evidence in Noah's case has been obtained. So does Justin Roy directly know what this explosive new evidence is? Do the family know? Who knows? Because not much has been revealed, which I know some people could be a bit skeptical and think, that's a shame. But of course, we'll see what happens with time. This could well be something what we've already heard of before, but now it's been made more official and confirmed to be damning. But as to what specifically, I think it would probably be more along the lines of some kind of digital evidence, some kind of media footage, right? Because in terms of physical items, are they likely to be found now after all this time has passed by? Especially that there's not really been any searches in the area, has there? Or at least to my knowledge, they've not been searching about like if a person was missing for a missing individual, or there was still a crime scene onwards till this day, dragged out, let's say. None of that. Right, you got the party house, you got the property, people come and go, some people suppose you lived there from the footage what we saw not that long ago as well, like that person outside that building dressed in what looked to be a white hazmat suit. That's a bit weird. Did any of that footage link to what's on here? No, not likely. So the only footage I can think of which has been talked about in the background, which has been described as shocking and in a way damning, incriminating, a form of foul play, a form of, tampering with evidence, would be that specific hidden footage, which I did a video on previously explaining the details, which was originally mentioned by another individual, okay? So, yeah, very interesting. What are the responses? What do people have to say? Let's do the newest. I don't know how many comments there will be. All comments, I guess, might as well do that. Is that 132 comments or people responding? Let's just get through it anyway. Am I allowed to screenshot this and share it to other groups? Yes. Prayers up, this is real, breaking the case. What's the new evidence? That's a good question, right? Yeah. No one's responded yet. And to be honest, if it's that important and for legal reasons, it probably can't be explained or shared right now, but we can at least guess as to what it could be, and I've given you my guess. You can give your guess down below. Beverly, so where did you get this explosive evidence? I would think the family would be commenting about this. Okay, fair points. Let's see. In response, Shannon, the family tends to stay quiet. Well, there we go. You never know. Yes, they have for a while now, for good reason. I'm sure as well, but it's notable when they kind of stop being active. I figured they're behind the scenes, things happening they can't discuss. And ever since, I have had a look at that Justice for Noah Presgrove, the official page run by the family or moderated by certain family members, and it has been a little bit quiet. Well, granted, there might be some general public commenting and leaving posts and questions. As for the family, not really seen much since. And normally, when there's a wall of silence, that could be one of two reasons. Either nothing's happening and they've hit a dead end, or important things are going on, but it just can't be talked about publicly. And that's like how it was in the Dylan Rounds case at a certain point. What else? I believe they've become quiet to protect the case because authorities have shared information with them. At least that's what I'm praying for. So it's not 100% confirmed. Praying for justice. They've had 10 months to do what is right. They don't deserve a good deal nor immunity. People agree. But if it helps to solve the case and get justice, let's do it. I mean, at the end of the day, there's a bit of wiggle room. You've got to give and take. Some people can be more stubborn than others. Some people need incentives, as bad as it sounds. But if there's some people out there that really want justice, really want closure, they might do whatever it takes, even if it means accepting a deal with the devil. Brenda says, you're right, I'm not going to apologise for how I feel. I don't know Noah. I've read through the groups, listened to podcasts, etc. with an open mind, shook my head at a lot of things and remained calm. I mean, yeah, of course, Brenda has shook her head about my channel by falsely claiming it as a podcast when it's actually a YouTube channel. Get it right. Heartbreaking. On the other hand, push them, come forwards. I wonder if this has anything to do with them trying to push the we know Kaden Pressy's phone pinged near Noah's body after 6:15 because Oklahoma Highway Patrol told them rally on those other groups. What? I don't remember hearing about Kaden Pressy's phone pinging near Noah after 6:15. I remember after 5:15, it's been said that Kaden went down to the highway at least at that point, but then was told to leave and go back to the house. I didn't know he went back out there. Let's just see what the responses are, if it does clear anything up with what Miranda said. Okay, I've never heard this one. What's the story? Yeah, I've never heard of it either. Right. Oh, what do we have here? Miranda. This was recent as of like a few hours ago, and it's either in the Sofa Sleep group or the case discussion group. I'll definitely let you know. She said it twice. I'll drop other screenshot below. Right, so we got some screenshots here. Personally, I don't know if it will kick me off. So if I zoom in, I know it looks really blurry. Do you know what? Oh, do I click on it? What's it going to do? Oh, there we go. Whew. I wasn't sure if it was going to kick me off. So, this is very interesting. I'm still going to try and do the golf club video today, but if this video does run in overtime, like it's an hour long or more, I might just focus on this for now because it looks like we've got some external comments here and it's very recent. And this is really important, this, because once again, more people in the background are coming up from the woodwork. Take in mind, on the Facebook page, you may not see it anymore because it's become private, the page. And those who were a part of the page in the first place haven't joined or haven't requested through the private membership, privately joining and stuff. So it's deterred the dark forces away, or some of them at least. So it looks like people may have gathered onto other communities and pages on Facebook. So let me just get a drink. Welcome to anyone that is watching. This may be a live premiere, okay? So if you are here watching live, share your thoughts, opinions in the live chat on the right hand side of the screen. We're going to read through this comment in just a second. I just need to quench my thirst. Okay, so I wasn't expecting this, okay? I do want to say, and I'll do it in a community post as well, because I did say I was going to do the golf club thing, but apologies in advance if I don't, because this is what this has come out seems just as important, if not more, and it's only just happened. So, hopefully you can see on screen, Sofa Sleuths, Oklahoma. So this may or may not be a private page on Facebook based in Oklahoma called Sofa Sleuths, I guess to do directly with the Noah Presgrove case, so it could be in general, and the theme is about Noah Presgrove. I don't know if it's the person who's the member of the page, but someone's called Brooke Bounds Carter. Who is Brooke Carter? Last name as... No, not last name. So I'm getting mixed up with Carter Combs. These are different people, right? Carter Combs, that's her first name. This person on here is their last name. Brooke Carter. Never heard of them before. Are they a local? Were they at the party? No clue. Anyone else? You can leave your thoughts down below. But Sarah Long here. Sarah Long is the sister to Stevie Howard. Stevie Howard, supposedly the homeowner of the party house, and the mother to Carter Combs and Avery Combs. Okay? Sarah Long has spoken out before in response to Kaden Pressy, which was highlighted by some on the community as gaslighting and trying to discredit Kaden. People said Sarah has been pushing an agenda to an extent. Well, let's just see what she's got to say here. This was a few hours ago or so when it was posted, so it's quite fresh. Sarah Long, responding to Michelle Shaw, says, I am related to Avery Combs and Carter Combs, and I was there at the party house by 8:10 in the morning on Monday. Okay. I'm not attacking Kaden Pressy. I just agree with police on this one. I think Kaden Pressy's timeline is off a little. Or maybe he has some sort of false memory from trauma. Oh, interesting. He certainly doesn't need to be attacked or threatened. That's horrible. And my family knows exactly what that's like. My nieces, Avery Combs and Carter Combs, both received death threats daily and have been followed and had their property damaged. What? Really? They've had the party house has been damaged. Is that what they're referring to here? I've never heard this before. I just think when you have 40 people at a party, all their eyewitness accounts will vary. No one is going to remember something the same. I think police are looking more into the fact that Kaden Pressy's story is the only one that doesn't match their GeoNet or geofence. They don't have Kaden Pressy's phone pinging near Noah until after 6:15 a.m. So I think that's probably why they have discredited his account. Yeah, but could there be a chance that at 5:15 in the morning when Jack Newton got back to the party house, who already knew about Noah's death and alerted Kaden Pressy and the party goers, that whilst Kaden had his phone in the party house as he checked the time when he was awakened by the news of Noah's death, that maybe in a panic, in a rush, that Kaden didn't think, oh, I'll take my phone down to the highway, I'll leave it at the party house, I'm going to rush on down to the highway to see what the hell's going on. And if you go down to the highway, such as Kaden Pressy supposedly did, and if he didn't have the phone with him, then obviously it's not going to ping at the highway at a specific time after 5:15. It can happen, right? Not everyone has their phones glued to them all throughout the day. And especially if there is a tragedy, if there is breaking news and you're in a rush or you're being chased by someone, you're not going to take everything with you. You're going to leave items behind. So that's what could have happened with Kaden. So fast forward onwards to supposedly 6:15 in the morning. Did Kaden Pressy go back to the highway? I've never heard that before, but if he did supposedly, why? To get answers, to look for more updates. Maybe Kaden wanted to go back because the first time round he did earlier on in the morning after 5:15, he was only there for about 5 minutes because he was ordered by someone or some people to go back to the house. And he wanted to be there, to be around Noah, to see what was going on, to learn, to understand. And with making it back to the party house, not being able to sleep, even though some of the other partygoers managed to sleep quite okay, which is a bit weird. That given the next chance when I guess it was officially called in by police, 5:53 onwards, 6:15, 6:18 when supposedly the highway patrol came on down, police, and if not that, 6:35, somewhere between that. And just before or just after Kaden Pressy being present there as well, trying a second time round to learn and figure out what the hell's happened to one of his friends, and maybe on that second chance to go back out there, he decided to take the phone with him, because by the time he made it back to the party house after the first visit down to the highway after being ordered to leave, he had time to process it, to calm down, to figure out what's just happened, because it is shocking, it could be upsetting, a lot to take in. Shock. Could it make you, like what Sarah Long says here, some kind of false memories from trauma? I'm not too sure about that. I don't know personally. I mean, do you agree with it, with what Sarah Long says here? But the bit about the phone pinging only at 6:15 onwards, when it actually proved and showed that Kaden was present at the highway at that time, well, it's probably because he had the phone with him, hence the phone pinging in that specific area. If the first time round when he went on down early in the morning, he didn't have his phone with him because he was in a rush, he wasn't thinking. I mean, who would think, oh, I need to take my phone down to that scene where the body is? What are you going to do with that phone, right? So, yeah, the first time round, the phone may have not pinged in the area, which, some could imply and suggest, well, because it didn't ping down there, but the person's claiming to be down there, then they must be lying. No. You don't need a ping to prove everywhere where you've been, okay? You can go out to the shops, you can go out to KFC, you can go out to SeaWorld, Sea Life, whatever, without your phone and say, yes, I've been here and there today. And people could say, yes, but your phone didn't ping there, so you must be lying. Check the CCTV, check witness reports by other people, right? You don't always need, and you won't always have your phone on you for it to ping as to where you are. You can go and visit place to place, location to location without a phone and without it pinging. Yes, less evidence, and it might not back up your original story or claim. That is a bit of a problem, especially when there's no cameras in the area and no one else is backing, a person up. Yeah, that is very unfortunate. But what are we getting at here, though? What's Sarah Long implying? That maybe Kaden Pressy, due to how he was feeling and the shock sustained, that what he was actually saying wasn't exactly true and he made a few mistakes. Is this trying to discredit Kaden? Is this a form of gaslighting? Because I wonder what Kaden Pressy would have to say about this specifically, right? And I do want to know your thoughts, because whilst we do have that breaking, damning new evidence which has just come about recently, we've got these external conversations going on in the background. Right? So it's good that this individual on Facebook in the comments backed what they were saying up with the screenshots to give the source where it was coming from. This is what's exactly needed. This is what's appreciated. It's okay saying from what this person said, from what Kaden Pressy said, from what Kaden Pressy has been labelled as, but where's it coming from? And we have it on screen, right? There you go. Sofa Sleuths. Sarah Long's comment. Now, I've heard it mentioned about the geofence, and that was mentioned on the Presgrove's Army Facebook page. I have no clue what that means, but people would talk about how it's important and how it could reveal things, but it can't be publicly shown just yet, or it may never be. I personally don't know much about that, but what's mentioned here by Sarah Long is kind of making Avery Combs and Carter Combs look very innocent and victims, like they've been attacked left, right and centre. But maybe not directly Avery Combs or Carter Combs, but some of the other partygoers or friends of friends, they've done their own fair share of attacking or threatening behaviour and language online. So, I mean, has anyone seen a dark side to Avery Combs or Carter Combs? Have they said anything threatening? Have they been nasty to anyone online? Because if not, does it warrant them receiving death threats on a daily basis, or is that a step too far? Personally, I think death threats towards those within the case is probably a bad idea and not needed, because I know people could be frustrated and passionate and they want an answer, but forcing a possible confession out of someone, whether they do know something or not, by forcing it out, it's not as natural and it may not stand in court, supposedly, if it gets that far. And at times, sometimes, if you do push something a bit too much and you're a bit heavy-handed or threatening, it could actually harm the case legally in other ways, but it could also push people away. And the more you push people away, the harder they are to reach and the less likely they are to talk themselves in the future. So you got to try and maintain balance, and it can be hard to do so, right? It's like the Dylan Rounds case where supposedly Don Hatley, the friend to the murderer known as James Brenner, whilst they were close friends long time, it was, there was hints that maybe the friend, Don, could know something as to what's happened or may have even played a role and helped. The father of the murdered son, Dylan Rounds, Justin Rounds, the father, didn't like the way the case was going and didn't quite trust Don. So online he was giving his own thoughts back to Don, and it could be seen as a bit of threatening language. You can understand, the frustration, the energy, heat of the moment, but it didn't make the situation look good. It kind of could have harmed the case. Didn't in the long term, but, it could have pushed Don away, and that could have been one of the reasons as to why he went down to Casper City, Wyoming, instead of remaining in Luton, Utah. So it's harder to get a hold of him. And Justin was saying how, I'll spill your guts. I'm going to make you tell the truth. And would that have been the right approach? No. Did it actually happen? No. But you get what I'm saying? The response from the general public or those within the case or the victim's friends or the victim families, not saying that it has happened, but if it did, it could mess up the case. So is it actually true what Sarah Long states here, that her nieces, Avery Combs and Carter Combs, have received death threats and that their property has been damaged? I mean, if they're talking about the party house, at least just from the perspective of when that person drove on down to it, which was a week or two ago now, the house didn't look damaged at all. But take in mind, 9-10 months have passed by. It depends exactly when it happened and when these death threats occurred. Whether it still happens right now, who knows? But, let me know your thoughts down below. It's really interesting, this, in a way. The eyewitness accounts will vary. No one is going to remember something the same way. So if people aren't going to recount the things the same way, but you're singling out Kaden Pressy's story as the only one that doesn't match the geofence or geonet. Is geofence geonet to do with phone pings? If it was, maybe it doesn't match because the phone just wasn't present in the possession of Kaden at a certain point where he was at. There's that you need to acknowledge. Right. It says as well, probably why they have discredited his account. Who discredited Kaden's account? The police? Or did they discredit it because it was of their interest? So, yeah. Just check that post. There is... where's the other one? I thought there was another one mentioned. I believe they're trying to discredit. I swear I saw another one, but I don't know where it is now. That's weird, unless it glitched out, but I saw 2 screenshots before. But anyway, Pam says, so Sarah Long wants us to believe that Jack Newton woke them up and told them Noah Presgrove had passed at 5:15. They jumped in the Jeep because it was one of their best friends and they were fine with Jack Newton staying with Noah Presgrove and them just being waved off. So Kaden Pressy being told to leave the scene. If it was one of my best friends, then there's no way I'd waved off or leave. But that's how I am. I would have stayed. I'm not saying Kaden Pressy or any of the other boys are lying, just that I wouldn't have left unless the authorities or my parents told me to. But this is the thing Kaden Pressy said after 5:15 upon being alerted by Jack at the party house. When Kaden got down to the highway, there for 2 to 5 minutes, then ordered to leave. If you're ordered to leave and it's by authorities or some kind of authoritative figure, or it's made out to be that, because that's how you perceive it at the time, you're under the awareness that who's telling you to leave is of an authoritative presence or part of the police. Maybe they're just dressed as a police guy, but they're not actually police. You know, different areas like that, official or unofficial, and you perceive it as some kind of authoritative tone, you're going to leave because you're just following orders. You don't want to get in trouble. You don't want to get in their way. As much as you may want to stay, you've got to follow the orders. If it was part of the general public, if it was a truck driver, if it was some random passerby or whoever, and they said, you need to leave, you could respond back and say, who the hell do you think you are? Are you the police? Nope. Are you a volunteer firefighter? Nope. Are you FBI? Nope. So you can't tell me to do anything. I'm going to stay here till police come, right? But Kaden didn't do that. Kaden was ordered, and the other guys, to leave. So there must have been some kind of authoritative figure there. Off duty, possibly, if it ties in with that hidden footage, whether that is the breaking news evidence. Who knows? What else? Yes, that was in response to me. I was sticking up for Kaden Pressy. Yes. Oh, are we zoomed in? Get me zoomed out. I hate it when it does that. Yes, if you took screenshot, you know they were pointing fingers at Kaden Pressy. I was getting upset and defending Kaden Pressy. That was one of the times Stevie's sister responded. So, 911 was called at 5:53 a.m. by Tyler Hardy. The Oklahoma Highway Patrol at 5:53. And Kaden Pressy's phone supposedly pinged at 6:23 a.m. At 6:23. Well, what was it worded there? Oh wait, the story I got told. Oh, hang on a minute. Did I not see that one? Oh, there we go. Oh, why has it kicked me off down the bottom? There we go. I wondered where the other texts were. Let's just hold on for a second. It's spazzing out, okay? Bit disappointed. Let me just go back over it because I just want to make sure I've not missed anything at all. The notification, 6:15. So that person lower down in the comments section that said 6:23 roughly. No, it's mentioned here by what Sarah says, 6:15 a.m. Now, the interesting thing is, I'm sure I've heard of the timestamp 6:15 previously, or at least 6:18 previously, to do with the police coming on down. But after reading that, what Sarah Long has said about, with the timestamps or the phone ping not matching up or not being present earlier on, but only later on, which kind of discredits Kaden Pressy's statement, the follow-up is just here. So let me click on it and see what else she's got to say. Responding to Miranda, Sarah Long says, the party house Jack Newton was staying at is 1 mile from the scene. Correct. I think the truck driver, known as Tyler Hardy, called first at 5:53 in the morning on Monday. For most part of it, correct. That's a good start, isn't it? A bit of consistency. Jack Newton arrived at the scene at 6:05 or close to it. What? What about 5:15 in the morning? Why Sarah Long completely ignored that, I wonder. My question is, before we go any further, let's just say 5:15 a.m. in the morning when Jack Newton already knew about the death of Noah, and before 5:15 at some point being at the highway to, come across the body. Many questions as to what time he left the party the first time and why he went down to the highway and what made him pull over to look at the body. That's if he even thought it was one when driving down, let's just say. Those questions still remain, of course. But my next question is, before 5:15, before he returned back to the party house, upon seeing it firsthand, the death of Noah, did Jack have his phone on him at that point for the phone to ping? Because if it didn't, isn't this like a Kaden Pressy situation then, supposedly? That they're at the scene at a certain time, but the phone's not with them, so it doesn't ping, it doesn't back up their point. But then how else would they know the time? Well, they're not directly given a time as to, oh yeah, I was there at this time, I was there at that time. And they wouldn't be able to give a time if they didn't know the time and if they didn't have a device that told the time, right? The only reason why Kaden Pressy says 5:15 when Jack came on back is because when he was awoken Upon hearing the news from Jack's point of view, Kaden looked at his phone and it said 5:15 in the morning. Could you argue and say, well, you know, if you're coming around from your sleep, you may look at the time incorrectly? Maybe, but to be honest, a day-to-day basis, like if you're going to work or you're going to school, you half got your eyes squinted, you're looking at the time and you think, wait, no, it can't be that time. What? And then you fully awake and realise, oh, it's too late, I must get ready quick, and then you're in a rush. So even when you might be at your most vulnerable and you're not fully awake or there with it, you can still clearly see the time, right? And in this case, upon being woken up and startled in a sense, instantly looking at the clock, 5:15, okay? That's why how when I word my stuff, I say from the beginning of 5:15 onwards and before 5:53, okay? I'm not giving direct timestamps in between because there aren't any direct ones to give. The only time when you'll have a rich depth of multiple timestamps is when you've got multiple phone pings. Best example, Dylan Round's case. When Dylan Rounds got down to the Grangeshed property, he had his phone on him up to a certain point. And then it exchanged hands into the killer's hands because it matched with the timestamp of Brenner in possession of the phone after the death of Dylan Rounds. So anytime the phone pinged after that, no matter where it was likely in possession by the killer because Dylan was already dead by then, before. Okay? In this situation, you got multiple different people, all with phones, very likely, but did they have them on them at every single point, every single moment? Not exactly, right? So you will be missing key timestamps and key phone pings. So I just thought I'd add that in. But as for Jack Newton, originally, if you remember, it was worded in some conversations online that there were 2 phone pings near to Noah's body. The exact timestamps given, I can't remember. They may not have been given. But one of the phone pings was to do with Jack Newton. And supposedly that is the reason, or one of the main reasons, as to why he supposedly did a polygraph test with police. And then supposedly he passed. Some people online recently have said, well, Jack didn't exactly pass or didn't say he passed. He kind of contradicted himself on other interviews, whatever. But Noah Presgrove's aunt did say, I think Noah Presgrove's aunt's called Robin, correct me if I'm wrong, did say that Jack passed. But if the aunt of Noah Presgrove is just reposting or resharing what she's heard, then she could be left in the dark as well from the lies of Jack. Who knows? But is it easy to pass a polygraph test? Maybe at times. It depends who you are, and if you remain calm, you probably can get away with it, even if you are lying. I think people said that polygraph test, even if there's some interesting findings, they can't be used in court because they're not strong enough or they don't hold enough credibility behind it, whatever. I mean, at the end of the day, if they're not that much use legally or in court, then what's the bloody point doing them in the first place, right? I mean, it's probably better to get a natural confession out of someone than over a polygraph test to just say, oh, they've lied. They've not clearly said the truth, but they've lied. So now we'll get the truth out of them, but they probably won't, or it just won't be natural. Yeah. But those original phone pings, one, supposedly Jack Newton at the scene of Noah's body. Don't know the time, though. Did polygraph, passed it, supposedly at least. Jack, from what he said himself in a text message which was reposted on one of the Facebook pages, the Presgrove Army one, as we've seen just recently, from Jack's point of view, Jack was relaying on to whoever in the text conversation from what he was told by police previously that, oh yeah, because your phone pinged in that area near to Noah's body, because the phone signal, the reception is pretty poor quality over there in the area, it can give false locations, false pings, like malfunctions. So it's okay. Is that entirely true? I personally don't know. I've not experienced that myself, so you can always let me know below. But this talk by Sarah Long, why is she not mentioning 5:15 in the morning? Why is that being ignored? But let's just continue reading, right? So you think the truck driver at 5:53, yeah. Jack Newton arrived at 6:05. I mean, that can be backed up supposedly by the time he made the call to his father, Caleb Newton, in which Caleb Newton has said the same thing, right? It's interesting that at 5:53, Tyler Hardy comes across Noah's body on the highway, calls it into police or highway patrol, and at the same time as 5:53, Jack Newton is supposedly at the party house texting his father to say, "Can you get me a new hat? Mine was messed with at the party. We'll do the fishing trip. I'll meet you down there at the at Warwicker Lake, at the bay, at the ramp, or whatever you call it." Now, Caleb Newton said from that text conversation, what was said was because Jack overslept, and there was some other details mentioned as well. What Caleb said there, from the point of view of that text message conversation, what we saw between Jack and Caleb, that was never mentioned. They may have had discussions elsewhere in the background or face-to-face afterwards, but it wasn't mentioned that detail, what Caleb said in his official Facebook statement, as to what it compared to in that text conversation. The text conversation was very limited, not much detail at all. But from Caleb's statement on Facebook, a lot more detail was added, which didn't exist from the text conversation. So it's like putting false words into the other person's mouth or text conversation, right? Does that mean it's false, what Caleb said? Not exactly, but maybe the source of where it came from was mentioned incorrectly, at least for sure. So, yeah. But 6:05, Jack supposedly at the highway, and that's when he made the call to his father about the bad news. And we've heard that before. I've mapped 6:05 on the Google Maps before. But what I'm getting at is, are only certain timestamps, times of events or moments where people were, are only some given, even though it's very limited, because they tie in with either phone pings or the timing of when a call or a text was made at a certain location. So all the other timestamps are excluded because it lacks the phone pings or it lacks the timestamps from them. Is that because people at certain moments didn't have their phones with them in a location despite claiming to be there or to be elsewhere? Maybe. Would that apply to Kaden Pressy? I'm not too sure if Kaden Pressy had his phone on him at the time, the first time round at least, after 5:15 when he got down to the highway for the first time. I don't know if he did have his phone with him or not. But if he didn't, that would explain why it didn't ping down in that spot. Now, did Jack Newton, before 5:15 in the morning, maybe around 4 in the morning, when he announced that's when Noah actually passed away in that text conversation which was posted online on Facebook, around 4 a.m. on Monday morning, was Jack at the highway? And if he was, did he have his phone with him? Because if he didn't, it couldn't be backed up with the phone ping, could it? So are people just being very strict and sticking to the supposed facts based off the phone pings exclusively, even though people may have been at a certain location at a certain time, but because the phone wasn't with them, it didn't ping and it doesn't back up what they say? But some may be trying to tell the truth, and there's a misunderstanding. You never know. Bit of an unfortunate situation. And maybe some people find it hard to believe how a person doesn't have a phone on them at all times, especially when maybe more important and needed nowadays, because anything can happen. But also younger people too tend to be on their phones longer. But as I said, if there is some breaking news or shocking news, it can catch you off guard and you may not have the items what you would normally have with you. Just saying. But apologies about that. I just really wanted to lock in. So anyway, besides 6:05, Sarah Long says he only stayed a few minutes at the scene, like maybe 5 minutes or less, and the party house is literally 2 minutes away. Jack Newton told the truck driver and service truck driver he needed to call his dad and go tell his friends Noah was dead. What? So he left the scene at 6:10 in the morning. That would give him 5 minutes to make it 1 mile back to the house to wake everyone up. The police have Jack Newton's phone location so they can see he's not lying about his timeline. They know he left to go tell his friends after he woke them up. Then Kaden Pressy and a few other guys loaded up in his red Jeep and went to the scene, and I believe they were told by the service truck driver they didn't need to be there to see Noah's deceased, so he told them to leave because 911 was on the way. I think police have Kaden Pressy's phone pinging there closer to 6:23ish. This is according to Oklahoma Highway Patrol. Me personally, I don't know how true this is, but how you would interpret this is how things played out is kind of the same as to what we've heard before. But in terms of the timing of it all, it's all been shifted a few hours ahead, or an hour or so ahead. Does that make sense to people? So the original story, what we heard of, and how it was portrayed by Kaden Pressy, who witnessed Jack Newton coming back from the scene, originally how it was told at 6:15 in the morning. And Kaden said he checked his phone at the time, and that's what confirmed the time, 6:15. Is there a small chance that it could have been a mistake and it was actually 6:15 and not 5:15? Something like that? But, I mean, looking at 5 and 6, two different numbers, and visually they look different as well, so you couldn't really get it mixed up. But in terms of like the order of things and how it's worded by Sarah, it still ties in line with how it's been worded previously about Kaden gathering some guys, getting in his Jeep, whatever, driving down to the highway, and then 5 minutes later at least, them being ordered to leave by someone. And that someone mentioned here by Sarah is, in quotes, I believe they were told, Kaden Pressy and the guys, by the service truck driver they didn't need to be there. So you're telling me that non-authoritative figures who don't even know the person that died are telling the friends of that individual to go back and you don't need to see this? What a load of bollocks. And honestly, if Kaden Pressy was somewhat emotional or connected with Noah as a friend and was told by a service truck driver, some general public individual, you need to leave, you would have thought that Kaden would have stood his ground and said, no, you're not the police, you don't tell me what to do, I need to be here, I want to see Noah, I want to, understand what's going on. You don't just back off like that easily unless the police or someone much higher has told you to, because if you don't follow orders, you could get in trouble. And in Kaden's situation, if the service truck driver or drivers told him to leave, honestly, what trouble would you get into? It's part of the general public saying you can't be here. It's a public highway. Anyone can be here, right? Unless the police say you can't and then corner it off because they're treating it as an active investigation, then you would have to follow orders. So this is really weird, isn't it, right? What do people have to say about this with what Sarah Long has said? That what Sarah Long is saying or suggesting that Kaden Pressy's phone supposedly pinged only at 6 in the morning onwards and not an hour before, as what Kaden has suggested when he was told the news originally at 5:15. But from the perspective of Jack Newton wasn't there earlier. In fact, that Jack Newton supposedly, as Sarah claims, was at 6:05 in the morning, and that was the first time round when Jack heard about the news of Noah's death and came across his body. Well, then explain to me, Sarah Long, why did Jack himself, in a direct text message conversation on Facebook, tell someone Noah passed away around 4 in the morning, right? If Jack knew that Noah passed away 4 in the morning, but only went down to the scene at 6 in the morning, hours later, to act surprised for the first time ever like he didn't know before, only one can be true, right? And because Jack may have contradicted himself before with alternative stories, switching and changing, what are you supposed to believe? And why is Sarah Long sticking up for Jack Newton in a way? What's the connection there exactly? Jack Newton arrived at the scene 6 in the morning for the first time. So anything before that, he wasn't there, as what Sarah Long implies. Unless, no, because they're saying that Jack Newton was there for 5 minutes or less. Why was he there for 5 minutes or less? I thought that was Kaden Pressy then. Because Kaden Pressy said he was there for 2 to 5 minutes. Unless both were limited for time because both were told to leave. Jack Newton told the truck driver, oh, so maybe Kaden and Jack there supposedly ordered to leave, and then Jack's like, no, I can't leave, I've got to tell my father. Well, if Jack's allowed to stay for a bit longer, possibly to make a call to his father about the news, then why does the likes of Kaden have to leave and the others? If one can stay, why can't they all stay? Seems a bit selective, in a way. Anyway, 2 minutes away. But I think how it's worded here with what Sarah's getting at is it was only Jack there at 6 a.m, ordered to possibly leave, but said, I need to make a call first, contacting his father. Then so much time passing by from making it down from the highway back to the party house. He left the scene at 6:10. That would give him 5 minutes to make it 1 mile back to the house, which would make it 6:15. Right. So the minute hand correct, the hour hand incorrect? So Kaden Pressy is saying at 5:15 in the morning, Jack Newton got back to the house to inform people of what's happened. But Sarah Long is stating here that roughly 6:15, an hour later, with the same minute hand, 6:15 was when Jack actually got back to the party house and told people. Two completely contrasting different times, but still how it's mentioned here is somewhat in the same order. But as for the timing of it all, an hour later than what Kaden Pressy claimed himself. Does this make Kaden Pressy look like a liar? To some people, yes. But others, maybe the majority, would see what Sarah Long is saying here is trying to gaslight people into thinking that Kaden got it wrong. You get what I'm saying? Trying to paint a negative, false picture of Kaden Pressy while sticking up and defending Jack Newton, who has lied a few times. Yeah. But I'll be honest with you, how it's worded here, if you're new to the case and you've not heard much before, or you've not heard Kaden Pressy's statement, you could easily fall and believe in this, right? Me personally, I'm not going to dismiss it completely. I've read it out. We can always refer back to it in the past. Could this be an example of an unfortunate twist in the case and a big misunderstanding with some people? There's always that small chance, right? I'm not going to demonstrate internalization where I get brainwashed by this, but it's worth just reading and looking into, because this type of stuff you may not see nowadays on the Facebook page of Noah Presgrove because they're no longer a part of the group or they no longer participate. So they gather elsewhere, but they're still talking. And what's mentioned here, I've not heard it mentioned like this before. So this is kind of new to me as well. Is it new to you? Have you heard this before? Let me know down below. Do you believe in it? Do you think there's some truth within it? Or has it just been twisted? Why would it be twisted? To make it seem like that it was 6 a.m. onwards when Jack Newton got down there for the first time round. Well, it would excuse Jack, because of at 5:53, Jack's like, yeah, oh, Caleb, my father, I'll meet you. We'll do the fishing. Warwick Lake, Bay, whatever you want to call it. You know, I'll meet you down at the ramp. And then Caleb's saying, yeah, we did that because Jack said he woke up late. Okay, then. That ties in line with what Sarah Long is saying here in terms of 6 a.m. onwards, because after 5:53, Jack would have left the party house, gone down the highway, come across the body, daylight, or a bit brighter, would have seen what's there, would have also seen the trucks parked up, so may have parked up himself to see what the hell's going on, or maybe he couldn't get past, who knows. And then at 6:05, upon hearing the news, first-hand seen it himself about Noah's body, making a call to his father. Hey, father, this has just come out, the news of Noah's body. I'm here right now. It's hard to take in. What the hell? We might have to cancel the fishing trip. And then Caleb's like, okay, don't worry. I'll meet you down there. I'll come on down. Just stay where you are or something. And then Jack's like, right, I've got to get down to the party house to let people know. and it takes so many minutes. 6:15 in the morning, awakes people at the party, including Kaden. Hey, this is what's happened. And then they all go back down to the highway, and then Kaden's ordered to leave. But you know what doesn't make sense? Is the hidden recorded footage in the background, right? What I've just said up to now, I was just giving the scenario how it suits Jack Newton in the eyes and how it's worded by Sarah Long. Why would Sarah Long supposedly push everything forwards by an hour? Because it actually suits and benefits Jack Newton, tying in with the correct timing of announcing the fishing trip, announcing he's ready to leave, then after 5:53 getting to the highway, as in you're driving down to meet up at Warwicker Bay Lake fishing expedition. But even before getting down there along the highway, because it's all in the same direction north, you come across Noah's body. So you have to stop, you have to pull on over for whatever reason. And then that's when you hear it for the first time. And that's when that phone call's made to his father for the first time. And that's when he makes it back to the party house at 6:15, not 5:15, to let people know what's actually happened. And then Kaden Pressy is woken up because of that, and then heads on down with his friends. And then they see it for the first time, and the shorts on Noah's body, and then ordered to leave, right? Based off that timestamps, that's very convenient for Jack because it makes it seem more normal. Because if we didn't push it back by an hour, as what Sarah Long states here, and we said 5:15 instead, then it actually makes Jack look more suspicious. And it makes it more suspicious about the fishing trip. You know, like how we said, well, if Jack already knew an hour or more earlier, then why the hell afterwards, an hour later at 5:53, would he want to do the fishing trip after just hearing about the news? It wouldn't make sense. But if it just so happened that Jack was ready to do the fishing trip, and then on the way down, he then came across Noah's body for the first time round, hence the phone pinging that point, then it makes everything look to be in the correct order and perfectly organised and nothing strange to see. Is Sarah Long putting this across because it does make Jack look more innocent in an unnatural way, forced? Well, if phone pings state that Jack was there at that certain time and Kaden Pressy was later, then you could support that. But, and there is a but, as I said, there could have been a time earlier on, an hour earlier, or more, where a person was here or a person was there, but if they didn't have the phone with them, it wouldn't have pinged and it wouldn't have backed their claim up, right? So that is unfortunate. But the next point I just wanted to add in, which actually counters what Sarah Long says here. On the basis and providing that the hidden recorded footage at the scene of the highway is absolutely true to what it's been said and described as, it was described that the footage at the scene of the highway was around dawn time, really, or somewhat early morning. What time in Oklahoma near to Terrell would mean dawn? Before 6 in the morning or around 6 in the morning? If dawn is something like 2, 3, 4, 5 in the morning, then it completely goes against what Sarah Long says here, and it just blows it out of the water, whatever you want to call it, right? Because that hidden recorded footage, and it would have been somewhat dark or so, at 6 in the morning would have been much lighter, wouldn't it? So before that, darker, well, that would tie in. And who does it actually depict exactly? I mean, well, the description was given, not that everybody agrees with it, from what other people have seen themselves, which isn't great, but the original description was, it was a police guy, it was a volunteer firefighter, Bub Wilcoxon, and 2 other clothed individuals. And when I did look at some other descriptions elsewhere, clothed individuals or clothed individuals are people a part of authority. They're just not in not costume. They're just not in their dress code at the time because maybe they're off duty, right? So there was already an authoritative presence there. But there were some counterpoints by people that have watched the video themselves, supposedly, and it wasn't a police person or this or that, but there was someone there at least present that did remove the shorts off Noah's body. So that'd be incriminating, right? Tampering with the body. What I'm getting at is, if there is some kind of footage, right, and it's much earlier on, then it kind of counters some of what's said here in a way, right? Because if it was earlier on and there was already a presence of people down there, and it was after 5:15, and after when Kaden was told to leave, then it links back to why Kaden probably left, because people are already there once Kaden got down there after 5:15, felt there was a presence and an authoritative figure or people, ordered to leave, left, and then the footage started rolling, right? So, you could say Sarah Long's done a good job at wording it here to make it make sense and to make that Jack looks innocent, because he does appear innocent how it's portrayed here, right? But when we look at the original claims and when we look at Kaden's statement, it does make Jack look a lot worse. Is Sarah Long telling the truth, spreading light, or is Sarah Long doing some kind of damage limitation? I wonder. This is very, very interesting. First time me coming across these type of post, right? What else do we have? Moving on. Person reply. This is odd. This is the same Sarah Long who claimed she woke the boys up and not Jack Newton. Do you know what? That's a fair point. Sarah Long said she got down there at 8, roughly 8:10, 8 in the morning to wake people up. Yeah, right. So that's a very good point what Jasmine says here. Shout out to Jasmine Hall, because this is actually a really, really, really good point. I need to find a bit, and we're gonna drop a boom in a second. Sarah Long says, I was there at the party house at 8:10 in the morning. Oh, Sarah, you're calling it a party house now? Because the last time round you called it the scene. Oh yeah, I got there around 8 in the morning. I got down to the scene. So 1 minute you call it the scene, like it's a crime scene, and now you're just calling it a party house. Why are you changing your words and language on how you describe the characteristics of the location? That is inconsistent to begin with. The next point, which is interesting though, Sarah Long, in the previous post what we looked at, by her previous statement, and it is documented on my channel, Sarah Long said, I got down there at roughly around 8 in the morning to wake up the boys, to wake up Kaden Pressy about the news. Why would you need to wake them up about the news if earlier on they were already made aware themselves because of hearing about it by the likes of Jack? So, some counterpoints, right? Now, of course, Kaden Pressy did respond back to Sarah's claim previously and said, are you sure about that? I think you've made some mistakes in what you've been saying. You could argue and say Sarah Long speaks better or types better than Stevie Howard. Stevie Howard can insult people, demean people, whilst trying to claim what the truth is, but it's harder to believe in when she's got a bit of a toxic attitude. But if Sarah Long tries speaking in a more respectful way, whilst highlighting that people's claims or statements are wrong, but without trying to insult too much, it's like doing it in a bit of a smooth approach to try and convince people, to pull the wool over people's eyes. Whereas if you came on in and said, oh my God, you're a complete idiot, man. You're a penguin. You need locking up in an asylum. Get a grip. Who's going to believe in what you say? You know, how you conduct yourself online, offline, how you speak, how you look, how you act, your body language. If you appear as if you know a lot, or you're soft-spoken, respectful, people are more likely to listen and take the time to hear what you've got to say, and maybe more likely to believe in what you say compared to if you just blasted them from the beginning. So, yeah, very strange. Why giving the information but not Noah's family? What else do we have here? I believe they're trying to discredit Kaden Pressy even more now than before. Now Kaden Pressy just rolled the window down for the person to wave them off. What? What's this waving off about? Let's see. Miranda. Still not understanding how Tyler Hardy, TH, doesn't see a red Jeep pull up to the scene and 4 boys jump out if there was only 3 vehicles and 3 people on the scene. I mean, that's a fair point, right? So supposedly 6:05 in the morning when Jack's there, and roughly around the same time Kaden's there as what's been claimed by Sarah, and the phone pings. Police arrive shortly afterwards, and yet at least at 5:53, granted a bit earlier, Tyler Hardy said I was the first on scene and there was no one else around. I mean, that's what's been mentioned here. But what does Sarah Long say? The story I got from Jack Newton. Oh, well, this kind of throws it all out now. So, how it was worded before, it seemed with a bit of confidence, but now you're saying, the story I got. When you use the term story, it can be interpreted in different ways, based off a true story, or a story time of made-up things, right? Or a story which differs from another story by the same person that told it to two different people. That's how you can interpret this with what Sarah Long has said. The story that I got from Jack Newton. Oh, but what about this person? Well, I got a different story from Jack Newton. And then Sarah says, no, but this is a story that I got. Well, whose story is true? Or are they all false, right? So it's not a good look already in terms of the language. But if Sarah Long is being honest, here at least, about this is the story, this is the perspective that I received, that's something. But nevertheless, Sarah says, from Jack Newton was that the red Jeep pulled up and Jack Newton said none of them got out of the Jeep. I think he said they just kind of rolled down the window and the truck driver kind of waved them on like, hey, get out of here, man. Jack Newton also said a white car pulled up and the people never got out, but they eventually drove off too. Tyler Hardy may not have genuinely seen them since Jack Newton says Kaden Pressy never got out of the Jeep. Yeah, but surely Tyler could have said that people did pull up and rubberneck. Where there's an accident where people are driving by and either stop or drive slow and just stare through the window, right? And honestly, if Kaden Pressy was made aware as to what's happened with Noah, and you just drive on down and you just stand there in the car idle 2 to 5 minutes, you don't do that. Normally, when there is breaking news, when something bad has happened, you drive on down, you get out quick, and you get as close as you can to see what's up. I mean, what's Sarah Long saying here from what supposedly happened, it's almost as stupid as taking your pregnant wife to the hospital, driving to the car park, and then just sitting there thinking, this is a nice view. Ooh, I wonder how much I've got to pay for parking. Let's just give it a few minutes. Oh, the baby's popped out. Oh well. What? You don't do that. You get to the scene because you're supposed to. You get to the location because you need to. And then you get out of the vehicle and go to the desired spot, right? I mean, it's pretty common sense. Maybe the exception of why you would stay in the vehicle is if you're a stranger and you don't know what's going on and there might be a bit of a traffic queue. And maybe if it went on too long, you could get out of your vehicle to see what's actually going on down the road. But in the eyes of Kaden Pressy, who supposedly already knows of the news about Noah, you don't just drive down, casually park up and just sit there in the car and do nothing. You'd expect them to get out and run to the scene and think, oh, what's going on? Especially if they're over-emotional. Right? That's how it would normally go about. But, the language here really does drop off by Sarah Long. This is where she falls short by saying the story that I got from Jack Newton. Well, you might have got a story from Jack Newton, but other people may have got a different story from Jack Newton. And if Jack Newton has told multiple different stories, and only one of them could be true, or maybe none of them are true, and the truth hasn't been revealed yet in terms of a story, then it's a load of bollocks in a way. But it's that Sarah says, I think he said they just kinda rolled down the window. You don't just kinda roll down your window. You either roll down the window or you don't, right? It's a bit like when people say, well, like what? Like it happened, it did happen, or it didn't. One way or the other, right? It's just the language and wording in a way. But to say, well, this is a story that I got, and I think he said. So you don't know what he said. You just think. You're not for certain. So what else are you uncertain about? Maybe everything else you just worded above the text conversation? Sounds a little bit dodgy to me in terms of language, right? And, you know, if you're going to be uncertain, there's no harm in that. But if you're going to appear confident at certain parts or at the beginning, and then you undo yourself with the uncertainty, what are you supposed to believe? Right? What else? Jack Newton also said a white car pulled up. Right, so who was in that white car then? And that they then drove off. But drove off where? North or south? Did they turn about? I don't remember hearing that before. Kaden Pressy never got out the Jeep. Well, I don't remember hearing that. Wow. What else? Pam. So Sarah wants us to believe that Jack Newton woke them up and told them Noah Presgrove had passed and jumped into the Jeep because it was one of their best friends. Oh yeah, we saw that before, didn't we? Yeah. I scrolled down too far earlier, that's why. Good thing I caught up on the other stuff. Right. What's this all about? Let's just check this out. Office of Chief Medical Examiner, report of investigation, location of death, the timing, when found, not the time of death, but when Noah's body was found, 6:18 in the morning. So, I'm assuming 6:18 in the morning is the time of when the police or the highway patrol came on down and officially saw it themselves. Because if we're talking about the time of when Noah's body was found, at least linking on to when he was reported in, would have been Tyler Hardy, and that was at 5:53. But here it says 6:18. So the next best thing I can think of is if we're talking about officials at the scene coming on down to see it themselves officially as part of authoritative, 6:18 probably does make sense because I've heard that time mentioned before when police arrived there, right? So, interesting. Ever-changing facts. So they're saying time found is after the 5:53 calls to the emergency. That math ain't mathing for me. First call was 5:46. Oh. Justin Roy says the first call, by Tyler Hardy was at 5:46 a.m. Why was the first call made? Why did Tyler call at 5:53 then? Is it because the first call didn't go through to the dispatch? It didn't work? Miscalled? Bad signal, so he called again? Who knows? But at least from my knowledge, 6:18 or so, when the body was found, if we're basing it off when the authority found the body and not just a member of the general public, that would make sense. But if in that autopsy report it specifically means whoever found the body first, well, 6:18 would be incorrect, right? What else? Good to know that's even earlier than I thought it was. There's no way that time of discovery is correct then. Well, it depends. Yeah, it depends. I just want to, if anyone can answer my question down below about when a body is found on an autopsy report as it's stated, is that found by whoever they are, nor the general public or authority who find it at a certain time, or is it all down to the authority, the police, at what time they find it? So if a body was found by the general public at 10 in the morning, but the police got down there at 1500 hours, hours later, what time would be given as to when the body was found? The time of when the general public found it at 10 in the morning, or when the police found it at 1500 hours into the afternoon? Anyone can explain? It's just me trying to possibly work out and make sense of that specific time given in the autopsy of Noah, right? But if the first call by Tyler Hardy was at 5:46 a.m, how come it's never been mentioned that before, at least in the news articles? Why has it always been worded as 5:53? Is it because that was a successful call made? So the attempt at 5:46 in the morning was a failed call? Does anyone know? The only interesting thing behind it is, if this is true, 5:46, then it obviously means that Tyler got there a bit earlier. And in one way, to work backwards, the earlier he got there, the better. Because the closer it is to the original 5:15 timestamp, he may have seen more. Though, in that case, Tyler said he didn't see anyone there, but he did see Noah's body, supposedly naked. But when Kaden Pressy saw Noah's body, He was clothed with the black shorts. 2 people saw 2 different things at 2 different times. In between that, some form of foul play, tampering must have happened for that change of clothing and even positioning of the body, supposedly. Michelle, physical posters, you mean about the evidence? This is in response to the original point, what we're getting at. Shaking my head. Why? I asked a question. Bother you? I mean, it's a fair question just to try and figure out if you're confused. But yeah, Jan said in another group she will start doing posters and social media ads with her offer next week. So it's about the offer, like rewards. What can you gain from opening up and telling the truth? First come, first serve. It's like that. Yeah. Yeah, there's no harm in answering and questions. Jan says in response, to clarify about the posters and social media ads, I am printing posters of my offer and distributing hanging in town cities from Duncan, Oklahoma to Bowie, Texas, as well as, or Bowie, or I shouldn't say Bowie. I'm sorry, y'all. Did I just say something wrong? Oh my God, mister, please don't hurt me. I'm trying my damn best, Tracy. I need some time to think. I need some time. Bowie or Bowie, I don't care, as well as placing social media ads for the county to reach. I'll post next week when the ads go out and posters are ready if anyone wants to take some and hang them up. And the t-shirts as well. That makes sense. Pam, well, this is my interest. Is this explosive new evidence anything that has been discussed already? I mean, it's been alleged that something exists and now it's going public. Does Ellie have this evidence? Good questions. What else? To clarify about the posters, yeah, we've already seen that. Yeah, prayers. So where did you get this explosive evidence? I would think the family would be commenting about this. The family tends to stay quiet. We've seen all that before, haven't we? Good reason. Yeah. Tick tock. Let me just double check to make sure the comments are in the correct order, because if it's not, I'm going to get triggered. Yeah, there we go. Top comments. I want it as most recent. But then again, we should click all comments, because take in mind, some comments could be hidden. And we don't want that, do we? So if I do all comments, apologies about that if it is slightly in the wrong order, but I had to readjust it, okay? New evidence. We've seen that. Come on, Noah deserves... Oh, we didn't see that one, though. Explosive new evidence obtained by who? Unless in the hands of the LE or official investigating personnel and verified, is it really evidence or just more hearsay? So you can see people are a little bit, unsure, questioning, which is fair enough. We've got Miranda. Shout out to Miranda for her post and screenshots. Very helpful, provides a different perspective, of course. We did see all this, but we'll just go back over it to make sure I've not missed out anything. Take in mind, new comments may roll in like that 2 minutes ago by Andra. So this is just me at this moment in time of me recording this video. Later on tonight, more people could roll in with comments. If there are future updates, I will do an add-on video. I might have to put other stuff on the back burner as for the order of stuff. But Tiffany says, come on, Noah deserves justice. Those who love him deserve justice. Just because evidence isn't mentioned doesn't mean it isn't there. If they let the public know everything, they let the guilty know as well, which can be a nightmare in itself in getting them prosecuted. Some could even run away, you never know. Those consistently questioning Justin is shocking to me. This man has been on this place since day one. Blood, sweat and tears, and who knows how many hours of sleep were lost. I believe every freaking word he says and what he types. He has no reason to be dishonest. I hope this is where the walls fall in and Noah can rest in peace. Let's go! Speak up. So, you know what? It could be seen as disrespectful towards, some people. You've put in a lot of time and effort. You built a bit of credibility and, you do really care about something. And then some others come along and then question you. It could come off as a bit rude and unfair and unfortunate, but you got to understand it from both perspectives. I can understand it from the original, yeah, but from the perspective of outsiders who may not have access to all the information and knowledge. Granted, part of the general public may not have tight-knit connections, don't have access to, the sensitive information. It makes sense as to why they can't access it, why they might not early on, but you can't help but understand that they themselves could be a bit frustrated because they're hearing all of this going on, code words, names, references, but very limited in context given. That causes a bit of confusion. And with a bit of a misunderstanding and feeling alienated, that frustration, and if on top they've been screwed over by others in the past, trust issues, it can be unsteady waters. Okay, some people may have broken their waters already, but that's a different topic. But, you know, I see it from all perspectives, so I do get it, right? I get the frustration from both sides. You put yourself out there, you put in a lot of effort, and then people question you, how dare they? But then those that don't have all the answers and don't have access to the full truth, they're left in the dark and are not quite sure what to think. And if they have been screwed over previously, they might just be extra cautious now. It was like that in the Dylan Rounds case, believe me, right? Even when I, despite having balance, consistency, focus, and a form of reliability, even when I put points across or the odd bit of evidence and I made sense of it, not everybody believed in it. And whilst it was a little bit annoying at times, but that was more so annoying because they were convinced by complete other BS. But in the other occasions, it was just a bit of a shame, but at the same time I was like, you know what, you've been screwed over so much yourself, I don't blame you if you do question. You know, when I do my points about from what Candice Cooley said, from what she said, from what he said, I can understand why certain viewers were like, yeah, oh, here we go again, blah, 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 same old, look at what they've done in the past, look at what they've said, how they've been inconsistent at times and the story's changed. Yeah, I get that, yeah. Does it happen here? Maybe. I don't know to what extent, but I get it. What else? Thank you, Jesus. Can't wait until some arrests are made. Justin Roy, can you elaborate on what you mean by physical... Oh yeah, we saw that, didn't we? That was already explained. Yep. Actual evidence would be great. Truth coming out would be great. So far, just a ton of possible causes and no evidence to verify any one being the actual truth. We all have thoughts, theories, ideas, but without actual facts and evidence to back them up, we are no closer to the truth. But supposedly what Justin is getting at is we are closer to the truth because there is damning, explosive evidence which has just come out recently and it's been handed over. And there's a chance it could lead to a conviction. A conviction. Does that mean to say that the evidence found could lead to a conviction of a individual? There was no S mentioned. If it said this could or may not lead to convictions with an S, if it was originally mentioned like that with an S, that would imply more than one person caught up in that damning evidence. But it wasn't worded like that. It said conviction, meaning what? Possibly only one person caught up in some explosive evidence found. You get what I'm saying? Yeah, we saw that. The right direction. Thank you, Jesus. Jesus, praying. What is the damning evidence? Not all of your followers can watch 24/7. Well, as a heads up, this new damning evidence hasn't been publicly revealed just yet. And what else? Brandy. Does anyone know if the guy riding with Kaden Pressy to the scene have come forwards to confirm Kaden Pressy's story to proper authorities? That's a fair question, right? We've seen it directly from what Kaden Pressy has said, that 5:15 onwards, he was looking for his other shoe, the Hey Dude one, unaware at the time that Noah was wearing it. So Kaden's just walked out with one shoe, hopped into his red Cherokee with a group of other guys, drove down to the highway, and then 2 to 5 minutes later told they had to turn back. Kaden Pressy remained awake, couldn't sleep with the thoughts on his mind at the party house, but the other guys did sleep. So who are those other guys that tagged along with Kaden Pressy? What are their names and why have they not spoken up? Why haven't they backed up Kaden Pressy then, right? If they were with him, if they witnessed what they saw with Kaden, why have they not come forwards then? You know, it's a very fair point. Do we have anything else? Not that I'm aware of just yet. This one, once again, it was like reposted or so. What's this stuff I circled? What are they trying to show? Timestamped. I don't know, it's like party house, bottle caps on the floor. There is a comment here by Alicia Lee talking about I have the full photo, but I don't want to go onto the comments because if Alicia Lee is there and a profile picture is showing, I can imagine it will backfire because people didn't want their photos shown previously. So I'll just leave that out for now. And what else? Here is another thing I've been thinking about. We'll just look at this quickly, okay? If we need to go back over this, we can later, but I just wanted to look at this right now because if any of this links into what we saw with the Sarah Long thing, or if it's a counterpoint, we might as well. Dusty, golly gosh, Dusty says, here is another thing I've been thinking about. So they want us to believe that Noah Presgrove just took off, walked off, without anyone following him. Well, at what point did they feel the need to go search for him then? And how far did they go? If he was deemed missing at the Jasmine Millan screenshot time of 3:41 in the morning, I mean, the time of 3:41 wasn't a screenshot timestamp. It was actually like a sticker added over to the photo that she took at the time, like a selfie, where you can add on filters and things like that, such as the time, the brand, the make of your phone, etc. But yes, it was 3:41 in the morning. How long had he been missing before that Snapchat post? Well, it was said, supposedly, that it was 3:30. So a 10 to 11 minute time difference. How long did they look before they just gave up when they woke up the next morning? Well, it's not the next morning, is it? Because if we're saying 3:30, if we're saying 3:41 in the morning, that's Monday morning, not Sunday morning or Sunday night. We're talking about Monday morning, so it's all happening early hours of the morning when Noah left, supposedly, and when Noah died, and in between when he was announced missing at the party. What else? So, waking up later in the morning on the day of Monday and Noah had not returned, why was Jack more concerned about getting to the lake at 5:53 onwards, if that is true? Why was no one concerned that they didn't know where Noah had went if Noah went missing at about 3:30 in the morning on Monday and wasn't found until 5:53? If we believe that, why did it take so long for someone to come across his body, who all left the house just to go home for the night after Noah went missing and before he was found? Lastly, for now, was there something that could have happened to him in the barn? Oh, Dusty, ideas from my video maybe? Same wavelength, possibly? I don't think he walked off. What do I think? I think he could have walked off to an extent and there was a bit of cat and mouse action in which maybe someone followed. Me thinking, party, okay. He was encumbered by alcohol, needed assistance showering, was even able to walk. I mean, there are fair points there. I've never thought he walked off. Well, there we go. Since Noah hated shoes, why would he put on a shoe too small and walk? I mean, is Noah Presgrove the same shoe size as Kaden? I don't know. Justin says, they only stated they went looking for him when they realised the geofence was going to ping their location. Very early on, they all claimed to be asleep the whole time. And again, just another phishing story. But my personal opinion, at that specific time, Noah did not leave the house. I think someone planned on beating him up for a reason and then went too far. Too far as someone was in a fight, getting their butt kicked, swinging a golf club. I said we need to do that sometime, the golf club talk. According to Carter Combs, they had just gotten in from looking for Noah when Jack Newton woke up. So from 3:41 when Jack Newton woke up, the girls were out looking for Noah. They didn't see or hear from him. How they lose track of him after the shower so easily. Yeah, I believe I know the answer, but Noah's phone has not been found correct. If in fact when he went missing and his friends went out looking for him, then his phone should have been blowing up with calls from friends looking for him, right? Yeah. Can't phone records be looked into to verify this? Now, granted, they may or may not have thought that part through, but they could have made fake calls of concern to make it appear that they were calling and looking for him, acting concerned. Yes, his phones are in custody of law enforcement. So what was found on the phone, then? What was found on it? I'm wondering if they took him to the lake and committed the crime there. Water gets rid of the evidence. To the lake. So you go to Warwicker Lake, cover over 40 miles, 60, 80, was it 44 miles or so? 44 miles to Warwicker Lake and then back down to the highway. That seems a bit excessive, just in my opinion. So what is all this talk about Noah going missing, and not to be mixed up with Jasmine Millan's post, but more so to do with when the friends went looking for him at least? Well, We've seen it from what people have said on Facebook. How true is it? I don't know, because I've not seen the additional proof behind it, that geo thing or this and that. But let me just explain it to you from my knowledge at least, and from what I've seen. And it might be limited, granted, but if we take a look at what Sarah Long, I believe, said, and how it ties in with what Jasmine Millan said in her follow-up post, which was November, it might explain the situation a bit clearer. Just as a brief backstory before we get into it. Now, to my knowledge, I've seen it and heard from what they've said. Now, maybe Jasmine Millan or more so Sarah Long aren't exactly credible people, but at least how they worded it, it seemed as if it was a normal occurrence for Noah to go missing. Now, was that worded as in at the party specifically, or in past parties back then, a month ago, years ago? I'm not too sure. Let me just present it to you from the horse's mouth. So I managed to find it, and this is really good news, because the key positive from this and this, where you see it highlighted, kind of adds in with what I was getting at from my knowledge, but more importantly, it's how I was able to find it. I went onto the studio mode of my videos. I typed in a couple of keywords relevant to the theme of the video that I was talking about, hence why I was able to find my screenshots and my material. So it is organised, and that's how I can present it back to you. And some of you will be familiar with this, but I thought I'd reiterate it again based off the conversation what Dusty was getting at in her post on Facebook, what Justin Roy said. You know, they have their knowledge and they probably know more than me, but I just wanted to present to people in general what I've seen myself, right? So what you see on screen is basically the original Jasmine Millan Snapchat post at 3:41 Monday morning, the day of Noah's disappearance and death, okay? But this is slightly edited because there is clearly an overlay paragraph giving a caption of what was actually meant behind the photo. You know, kind of explaining her innocence to it, completely unaware of what was happening or what was going to happen at the time back in 2023. And just to make it very clear, if we just zoom in, down below you can see the overlay where it says like, comment, send, Facebook Messenger symbol, share, comments, and then the Facebook thumbs up and the Facebook emoji reactions. So this was actually posted, I believe, by Jasmine Millan herself onto Facebook with this paragraph caption overlay on top of her original post, which was from Snapchat. And this was her explaining herself. Now, the original Snapchat one would have been at 3:41 a.m. roughly, Monday morning, September the 4th, 2023. But this follow-up explanation post with the overlay was November 3rd, 2023. So it actually took her long enough to give an update explanation. You would think if it was taken out of context originally and it led to questioning and annoying questions and being hounded and surrounded and harassed online, let's just put it like that, you'd think you'd want to squash the rumours and the misunderstandings as soon as possible instead of leaving it as late as possible. Unless it only got worse later on and then she felt the need to explain herself because she felt she didn't need to originally because it wasn't meant in a bad way, but it caught up. Right? But I'm just explaining as to why it looks different and why the date is given there, because it's an overlay. It's like a repost. It's a edited caption posted onto Facebook, whereas the original was on Snapchat and obviously months before November, right? But what did Jasmine have to say? The key point is obviously highlighted in red, but I'll just read it all out again. Jasmine Millan said, "I just want to make something very clear. I posted this picture originally, not knowing that the worst was going to happen, not knowing Noah would never come back. It was normal for Noah to wander off. Nobody thought he wouldn't be back. So don't even think for a second just because I posted that means I know what happened to him, because I'm just as clueless as everyone else. I'm sick of it. Noah was my friend and I loved him so much. It hurts that people could even think that any of us could have done anything to hurt him. We all loved Noah and we have told the authorities everything that we know. Y'all think y'all have it all figured out. Y'all don't. Someone is really, I don't know what that means. But The other way of looking at this, interestingly now, with what we know of recently with Jasmine Millan, how Jasmine says, Noah was my friend and I loved him so much as a friend and only a friend. Yet there's that footage by Renee Millan, the mother to Jasmine Millan, posted or reposted on TikTok, which shows Jasmine Millan, the person you see on screen, at whatever point, whatever time at the party or months before or a year, whenever, Jasmine Millan kissing Noah Presgrove for a certain length of time. And it looked quite intimate and passionate, the way they were locking on with one another. The weirdest thing was somebody else was in the same room up close recording it. Bit dodgy, isn't it? And on top of that, at some point, whenever it was, Jasmine Millan got a tattoo with Noah's name written on her wrist, I think, with a dove or a bird. Does that dove flying away represent honouring and remembering Noah after death, or is it at the time of when he was alive? Not too sure, it's not exactly confirmed, but you get the idea. You could interpret that material and say, would friends really do that? Do friends get that intimate? Questionable. Maybe it differs from country to country, maybe, but still, you can't help but think. But to return back to the key point, what we were getting at just before with Dusty's conversation, Jasmine Millan said it was normal for Noah Presgrove to wander off. Wander off at that particular party? Or do you mean it was normal for him to just wander off whenever, wherever, however, and through previous years and months? If it was such a regular, common occurrence and theme, what made you think this time round that it was necessary to be searching for Noah, right? And you could say, well, Jasmine Millan doesn't mention anything about searching for Noah or trying to find him. But this is where Sarah Long steps in, replying back to Jasmine Millan, and I think it might have been in response to this post specifically, or somewhere defending one another. Sarah Long says, keep your head up. You've all been cooperating since day one. The investigators have all this information they are sharing, so it's nothing new. I'm sure when you posted this without the overlay, when you posted this, you were expecting it to be like any other night when you went looking for him. Just like the night before when Yael found him after he had walked off. I don't think you posting a snap, Carter running into a cardboard box and a young man, country just got back from a hog hunting, holding a gun or teasing each other, makes anyone guilty. Do you get what I'm saying? Sarah is kind of looking out for Jasmine, but Jasmine and Sarah are getting at that Noah has wandered off, walked off from the party beforehand. The night before, whenever that was, right? And in terms of being able to find him and bring him back to the party, you know, when Yael found him after he had walked off, that kind of goes against what we saw earlier with what Dusty was saying when, people were trying to go out searching for him and not much mention about retrieving him back unless they searched for him again afterwards. But at least from my way off, they didn't search for him unless they did, but it was final time round. But then again, Jasmine Millan didn't seem to show any concern, just, we didn't know what was going to happen, and we just left it be. But you know what is interesting, just an additional thing, where Sarah Long says about a young man who grew up in the country, who just got back from hog hunting holding a gun. What's that all about? Sarah Long is referring to that footage where Noah Presgrove in the black shorts were confronting Brylan Sweat when Noah was asking to be slapped, and in the background we saw that guy with the fuzzy hair talking to Avery Combs holding that rifle. That guy is called Isaac. Sarah Long is referring to that guy here holding the gun, who is Isaac. Sarah Long is saying that Isaac just got back from hog hunting. Just so happens that hog hunting went on a couple of days, I believe, and even crossed over on to Saturday. I think it was Friday and Saturday. So is there a link there? I mean, it would make sense because even I said just recently about hearing of the hog hunting at the meeting at the Masonic Lodge, whatever that's about, and just, hunting, but no alcohol. But by the way, you can make it back to the party house and have some. even if you're underage. But there wasn't a true connection there, exactly. But what the possible connection was, well, if certain partygoers were going to the party house, but a day or two before went hog hunting, when they were getting back, they decided to call in at the party house while still having their firearms with them. It would make sense, wouldn't it? But you could say, if Isaac got back from the hog hunting and the final day of hog hunting was on a Saturday, and yet the footage what we saw of Noah and Brylan Sweat and Isaac holding that firearm in the background got back from the hog hunting, which ended on a Saturday, yet the footage what we saw was on a Sunday, how does that make sense? Well, quite simple. If the party started on Saturday and it lasted 4 days, anyone that was on that hog hunt coming back on the Saturday called in at the party and they still had the rifles with them, took them into the house for safekeeping storage and got on with the party. That makes sense as to why Isaac had a firearm with him and why some may have had them because of the hog hunting. I'm not saying everybody that went hog hunting took the firearms to the party too, but you can make sense of the order of how things could have played out. But to link back to what Sarah Long says here, where she says, like any other night when you went looking for him. Any other night makes it sound like a regular occurrence. Oh yeah, any other time this person would be doing this and that. What, so you're saying any other time that Noah would be wandering off? I think you need to ask yourself, why does he keep wandering off? Why does he want to distance himself from people or the party itself? Normally, when you're having a good time, you want to stick around, you want to stay around and be around people, right? Unless there's something going wrong. Yeah, taking a breather or a break makes sense, but doing it repetitively, a bit questionable. But Sarah says, just like the night before when Yoel found him after he had walked off. Right, I don't think you posting a snap is seen as suspicious, makes anyone guilty. Right, so Sarah Long is directly responding back to this Snapchat and defending her at this specific time at 3:41 in the morning Monday. And Sarah Long says the night before. Does the night before mean Sunday night or Saturday night? Because 3:41 a.m. in the morning is morning time of Monday. If you said last night I went to bed, that would be Sunday night. But there can be a crossover overlap, right? I mean, just as an example for me, fairly often I might go to bed at 00:00. So it's gone into the next day, early hours of, the next morning. But even though it's gone into the next day, I'll be saying, right, it's nighttime for me now. I'm going to bed. It's still nighttime. It's still evening time, as in, just to give an example, what day is it? What day is it? Today's Saturday. So Friday night, I went to bed at 00:40 or so. So that's basically, I went to bed early hours of Saturday morning, but to me at the time it still felt like Friday night because I hadn't officially gone to bed just yet, so I was still treating it as the same night, but it was already early hours of the next morning, so I couldn't really call it officially, the night time of Friday because it's early hours of Saturday. You get what I'm saying? So if something happened the night before with me, does that mean it happened Friday night or Thursday night? If what we're referring to as in a post was early hours of the next day to begin with, what does it exactly mean? Because how it's worded here, it would make more sense if what's worded here meant Sunday night, the night which was approaching early hours of Monday morning, in which in between that Noah Presgrove may have crashed the ATV, there was a bit of recklessness, the shower, and on. But in fairness, I think most of the crucial events happened 3 in the morning onwards, supposedly. Correct me if I'm wrong, which would be early hours of Monday morning. And if you're talking Monday morning as in a new day, the night before would be Sunday. So is that what Sarah's getting at here? That Noah tried walking away or wandered off Sunday night. The friends went looking for him, found him successfully, brought him back to the party house, and then going into early hours of Monday morning, he then asked to be taken home, but rejected, and then ended up just wandering off again for the last time. And that's when Jasmine Millan steps in within a 10-11 minute time difference of supposedly when he left at 3:30 Monday morning and Jasmine at 3:41 said he's missing, and not much happened about it after. As I said, without certain context, you would think that, well, if he's been missing before and you found him, there was a reason in the first place to go looking for him. There was a level of concern. That's why you searched for him. Okay, you found him, you brought him back. But then if he's gone missing again, instead of just saying, oh, well, he's gone missing and giving up, it should be like, well, where's he gone now? You know, he's not in the right frame of mind to be wandering off. And my question is, if he did wander off at some point and he was found and brought back to the party, what state was he in then? Was it before or after the ATV? Was it before or after the shower? It must have been before 3:30 at least, because 3:30 supposedly is the time when he left for good and wasn't seen again until insert the timestamps of when people announced when they saw or heard about his death, right? Just based off that, at least from what I've seen myself, that's all I'm saying, okay? But it'd been interesting to see whether it's before or after the shower, and on top of the shower situation, how did Noah look? For him to wander off, likely his own choice, you would think. Right frame of mind, who knows if he's drunk as well. But did he look in pain? Was he frustrated when people found him? Did he protest when they said, you need to come back to the party? Why did he wander off in the first place? Why does he normally wander off? You know, questions like that to try and understand. If it's just a normal thing, he likes having some peace and quiet, catching a breath, getting some fresh air in between the party, on and off, okay. But on top of Noah wanting later to leave and be driven back home because he wants to get back home, he wants to sleep and maybe freshen up, and no one will drive him home, he's kind of trapped, he's restricted, isn't he? The only other choice he's got is to actually walk back home, and that's very impractical. But as I've always said, if you need to go, it's different to if you want to go. When you need to, desperate actions, desperate measures. When you want to go, it's like, you know what, give or take, I might go, maybe not. I think, you know, I'll just give it some more time. So there is a bit more leniency there. But I just wanted to throw this up once again because, you know, while Sarah Long, maybe Jasmine, not exactly credible sources, if you want to put that argument across, we've seen it from the horses' mouths of what they claim and of what they've experienced. And I think that's somewhat important because key people within the case, indirect or direct, and I just wanted to relay where I got information from or claims from, right? This may not directly tie in with what Dusty said or Justin, fair enough, but I just wanted to pop this back out. And to be honest, Sarah Long has appeared recently, hadn't she, with the post what we saw earlier today. So be sure to let me know what you think. All in all, hopefully you found this video of interest. Whilst that breaking news evidence may be limited, as in, you know, lack of description as to what it really is, I can only present to you what I saw myself, but I'm sure we can make our own guesses and assume what it could possibly be with what we have previously heard. You never know. But even if that is not a key takeaway for today in terms of satisfaction, we saw a different outlook with Sarah Long recently, turning it all upside down when it came to Kaden Pressy, which may be shocking to some people as for those times specifically given, and maybe even seen as discrediting what Kaden has said. But if that's what's happened to Kaden before, this pattern continues on. But because it's may have popped up again, these key people and counterpoints being made, even if it's wrong or false, do these counterpoints, these people's presence come up once again in bursts just because of the Facebook post by Justin Roy and this new groundbreaking evidence coming on out in recent time? You know, like when you bang on the door, or you rustle a wasp bee's nest and then they all start swarming. Is that what's happening here? Once again, a wave, a burst. Is that why my videos got falsely reported again recently, because of all this breaking news in recent time? You know, you try and look at the patterns, okay, and maybe attach it to one another if possible. But I think we'll leave it there for now. Apologies I didn't get round to the golf clubs. They're right next to me, by the way. Not the real ones, but as I was going to demonstrate. But this was more important in a way. It's the latest news and discussions. I always wanted to put that first to keep up with the latest news. And then when it goes silent, I catch up with everything else. It is unfortunate timing, I know, but I don't want to fall behind. So I will eventually tick other things off the list, but let's just leave it there for now. Let it sink in, see what happens next. But thanks for watching anyway. Appreciate people's patience and all the comments from last night. I tried responding back to them all. And if you got any more thoughts or questions about this video, about what's recently gone on, let me know down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Goodbye for now.